some of the challenges of filming with a baby?
What was some of the challenges of filming with a baby? I'm not going to even front we have a great nanny. And I mean, whenever I can pry him away from you, it's been pretty much a breeze for me.
I'd say.
Yeah. I probably changed 2 diapers.
I was just going to say probably about 2, maybe 3, maybe.
A couple of PPs, about 1 booby. I think I'm at my limit.
Yeah. Did good.
Didn't get on this time.
I did. Yeah. I definitely did.
Chilly, Kelly Rowland didn't just throw shade. She built a whole umbrella factory and handed Ashanti the forecast. Because the moment cheating rumors hit the blogs about Nelly allegedly creeping on Ashanti with someone from his own camp, Kelly hopped on Instagram with a post so smug, so perfectly timed, fans are convinced it was less coincidence and more calculated clapback. And baby, it wasn't subtle. This wasn't just some random post about marital bliss. This was giving couldn't be me. Now the internet's wondering, is Kelly being petty, or is she finally airing out a decade-old grudge that's been bubbling under the surface for years? The timing was too perfect to be accidental. Just as the internet caught fire with whispers that Nelly had allegedly cheated on Ashanti, this time with someone from his own tour team, no less. Kelly Rowland pulled a move that had fans clutching their pearls and clutching their phones. Out of nowhere, she posted a glowing carousel of her husband Tim Weatherspoon with a caption that read like a Bible verse for loyal men. The tone? Smug. The vibe? Unbothered. The energy? Petty with a side of this could never be me. She didn't name drop anybody, but baby, she didn't have to. Everyone knew who that post was for. See, Kelly Rowland is not known for oversharing. She moves with grace, keeps her family life tucked away, and generally stays out of the social media drama swirl. So when she suddenly emerged with professionally shot throwbacks, smiling next to her man like they just walked out of a Hallmark commercial, fans knew something was up. It wasn't the post itself that sparked the firestorm. It was the timing. It came within hours of blogs blasting headlines about Nelly's alleged infidelity and Ashanti being blindsided. 1 minute the public's sympathizing with a humiliated Ashanti. The next, Kelly's out here giving my man could never energy with a smirk you could feel through the screen. And Twitter? Phew, they had a field day. Kelly Rowland posting her faithful Black King, while Ashanti's man out here doing laps around temptation. Baby, the shade is loud. One tweet read. Others weren't as subtle. Kelly ain't just posting pics. She's activating beef that's been in cold storage since 2003. The comment sections were in shambles, with fans split down the middle. Some were cheering Kelly on like she'd just dropped the most polite diss track in history, while others were calling her post tone-deaf and disrespectful, especially considering the emotional toll Ashanti might be dealing with behind the scenes. One fan wrote, "I love Kelly, but this feels shady. If you don't like the girl, just say that. Don't do this passive-aggressive stunt while she's getting humiliated by the same man you used to flirt with on wax." Because let's not forget, this wasn't just random. The internet's memory is long, and it wasn't hard for people to connect the dots between Kelly and Nelly's old dilemma days and the rumors that maybe, just maybe, Kelly still had a few receipts tucked away. The post didn't just say, "Look at my happy marriage." It screamed, "This is what loyalty looks like. I could never be in your shoes." And fans caught that message loud and clear. Even though she didn't say Ashanti's name, she might as well have tagged her. It was the equivalent of subtweeting with a bullhorn, and the internet responded accordingly. Speculation took off like wildfire. Was Kelly finally letting decades of quiet tension show? Was this revenge dressed up in Instagram filters? Or was it simply a woman showing off her happiness with her man, completely unaware of how bad the timing looked? Either way, the message landed. And it landed hard. Because while Ashanti was trending for all the wrong reasons, cheating scandals, heartbreak, and postpartum exhaustion, Kelly was trending for something else. A single post that managed to be flawless, shady, and explosive all at once. And maybe that's what made it sting even more. Kelly didn't have to say a word. Her silence said everything. And in the court of public opinion, that's sometimes the most powerful mic drop of all. If you've been watching closely, then you already know this tension between Kelly Rowland and Ashanti didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been bubbling for years, quietly simmering behind closed doors and red carpet smiles. And while neither woman has ever come out and said they had beef, fans have been connecting the dots for over a decade. Because there's been just enough eyebrow-raising moments, just enough shade-adjacent energy, and just enough silence in key moments to suggest that something wasn't sitting right between them. The whisper started way back in the early 2000s when Kelly was still touring with Destiny's Child and Ashanti was on her Murder Incorporated come up. On paper, they were never in direct competition, but behind the scenes, the overlap between their circles was messy. Industry insiders claim that Ashanti always felt low-key threatened by Kelly's presence, especially because Kelly had something Ashanti didn't at the time, a cosign from Beyoncé and chemistry with Nelly that was visible from space. While Ashanti and Nelly would later become one of hip-hop's most celebrated couples, rumor had it that even during their relationship, Ashanti never felt entirely secure. Because no matter how many years passed, the shadow of Kelly's history with Nelly was always hovering just out of frame. And the awkward moments weren't all behind the scenes. There were red carpets where Kelly and Ashanti barely acknowledged each other, award shows where they sat on opposite ends of the stage, and press junkets where Kelly would be mentioned in connection to Nelly, and Ashanti's face would change. Subtle things, small things. But to fans who were really watching, it felt like the tension was always there, just waiting for the right scandal to break it wide open. Let's rewind for a second. Before Nelly and Ashanti were ever a thing, it was Kelly and Nelly who had the people talking. It all started in 2002 with the release of Dilemma, the chart-topping, Grammy-winning, genre-defining duet that had fans convinced they were watching a real-life couple fall in love on wax. Their chemistry in that video? Instant. Electric. Almost too convincing. You couldn't tell people they weren't together. And for years, neither of them truly denied the possibility. Kelly and Nelly first linked during the MTV TRL tour in 2001, and by the next year, Dilemma dropped and exploded. The lyrics were intimate. The video was steamy. And the press tour? Full of blushing, giggling, and low-key flirtation. Kelly would talk about how much she loved working with Nelly, calling him sweet, funny, and like a big brother. But fans weren't buying the sibling energy. Not when their body language said otherwise. Not when the hugs lingered a little too long and the smiles looked a little too real. And just when the rumors started to cool down, they reignited everything in 2011 with the track Gone, a sequel to Dilemma that came nearly a decade later. The video was straight up sensual. Nelly and Kelly were practically glued together, exchanging intimate glances, dancing chest to chest, and giving fans another reason to believe that the flame had never fully gone out. The way they moved together, it wasn't just for the cameras. At least, not according to the internet. People swore they saw the look of two people who had history. Eventually, Kelly did address the rumors head on, insisting in an interview that Nelly is like family, and that their relationship was strictly platonic. But the energy always told a different story. And for fans who have been watching since 2002, Kelly's denial didn't erase the years of speculation. It only deepened the mystery. When Nelly and Ashanti finally made their relationship public, the internet celebrated it like a fairy tale. Two R&B heavyweights coming together? It was a cultural moment. But the timeline? Let's just say it raised a few eyebrows. Because while Nelly was clearly moving on, there were quiet murmurs that Ashanti hadn't exactly won him fair and square. Some fans believed that she was always the second choice, that she swooped in after something fizzled between him and Kelly. And even though Kelly never publicly aired any heartbreak, people wondered if Ashanti knew deep down that her man came with some lingering attachment to his former duet partner. Over time, Nelly and Ashanti built a long on and off relationship. They dated for years, broke up, kept things ambiguous. And then in 2023, they shocked everyone by reuniting and getting engaged. The following year, Ashanti gave birth to their first child, making them the picture of a full-circle love story. But even in that joyful moment, the whispers crept back in. People started wondering again, was this really a happily ever after, or just the final chapter of a triangle that had been messy from the start. Some even joked that Kelly dodged a bullet, because while Ashanti got the man, she also got the drama that came with him. If you thought The Dilemma was just a hit song from the early 2000s, think again. Because in 2024, it came back with a vengeance. Not on the charts, but in the headlines. Reports surfaced that Nelly wanted to perform Dilemma during a major televised event, but the track wasn't cleared. And who allegedly blocked it? None other than Kelly Rowland. Now, let's be clear, artists not clearing songs isn't unheard of, but in this case, it was taken very personally. Fans were quick to speculate that this wasn't just about business or rights. This was about emotion. This was a statement. And the statement was clear. Kelly was not about to help Nelly relive the good old days with a song that once symbolized their chemistry, especially not now that he's out here disrespecting Ashanti and dragging their name back into the gossip cycle. People online ran with the theory that Kelly was done playing nice, that she had stayed silent for decades while people speculated about her and Nelly, while Ashanti lived out a public relationship that may or may not have started on top of Kelly's hurt. And now that everything was unraveling, Kelly was reclaiming her power. First, the blocked song, then the shady post, and now the internet was putting the pieces together and realizing Kelly might not be just throwing shade. She might be getting closure, on her terms, because maybe Dilemma was more than a duet. Maybe it was unfinished business. And maybe Kelly is finally saying what she never did all those years ago. You don't get to use me for nostalgia when you're out here breaking hearts and dodging diapers. Not on her watch. For years, Nelly and Ashanti were seen as hip-hop royalty. A couple who had weathered the storm, reunited with fanfare, and finally gotten their fairy tale ending. But once the glitter settled and the baby arrived, that polished image began to crack. And for those paying attention, it didn't take long to see that behind the smiles and photo ops, something was very off. It all started with the reality show footage. What was supposed to be a sweet peek into Nelly and Ashanti's domestic life turned into a masterclass in red flags. At first, the scenes were innocent. Ashanti glowing with motherhood, cradling their newborn, trying to balance diapers and late-night feedings while still recovering for childbirth. But the tone shifted quickly. Viewers noticed how often Ashanti's needs were brushed aside, how frequently her voice was talked over, and how little support she was actually receiving from her partner. There was one clip that especially sent the internet into meltdown. A quiet moment in the kitchen, Ashanti standing barefoot in a robe, clearly sleep-deprived, asking Nelly to take the baby so she could grab a quick shower. He laughed, then casually muttered something about, "That's your job, not mine," and walked away, leaving her standing there, stunned, still holding the crying infant. The backlash was instant and ferocious. Fans flooded the comments, calling Nelly everything from emotionally unavailable to downright lazy. Memes popped up overnight. Screenshots of Ashanti with tired eyes and a forced smile, captioned with phrases like, "When you realize the father is just another child," and "From dilemma to disappointment." And just like that, the facade of the perfect reunion began to crumble. Another scene showed Ashanti trying to plan a small family photo shoot for their newborn. She excitedly explained her vision, wanting to do something tasteful and elegant. But Nelly? He rolled his eyes, called it extra, said he'd show up if he wasn't busy. Fans were stunned. Here it was Ashanti, freshly postpartum, trying to preserve a once-in-a-lifetime memory, and her man couldn't be bothered. Worse, he minimized her joy in front of the cameras. But the most damning footage came during a roundtable confessional where Nelly proudly bragged, yes, bragged, about how he hadn't changed a single diaper yet and that he ain't waking up in the middle of the night for nothing. He said it with a smirk, like it was a badge of honor, like his masculinity depended on being completely uninvolved. The audacity sent social media into a spiral. Even men who usually defended Nelly had to fall back. Because what era is he living in? Who flexes about being absent in their own child's life? Meanwhile, Ashanti's silence in those moments spoke volumes. She didn't argue. She didn't roll her eyes. She just smiled, a tired, resigned kind of smile that women recognized all too well. The kind that says, "This is not what I signed up for, but I'm too exhausted to fight right now." And while Nelly was out on tour, reliving his glory days and posting gym selfies, Ashanti was at home, doing the heavy lifting. Fans noticed that she stopped posting happy couple photos. The gushy captions disappeared. The subtle ring flashes vanished. All that remained were cryptic quotes about self-love, healing, and protecting your peace. And suddenly, that glossy, fairy tale image of Nelly and Ashanti, the one people had rooted for, started to look more like a cautionary tale. The same fans who once cheered for their baby reveal were now whispering, maybe Kelly was never bitter. Maybe she was just early. And with every petty post, every public dismissal, and every moment Ashanti looked alone while surrounded by cameras, the truth became harder to ignore. This wasn't a relationship unraveling. It was a mask slipping. If the cracks in Nelly and Ashanti's relationship were showing behind closed doors, then tour life blew them wide open. What was meant to be a celebration of hip-hop nostalgia, the late 90s and early 2000s tour circuit bringing back all the hits, quickly became a breeding ground for scandal. And at the center of the latest storm, Nelly. Again, according to multiple insiders, the tour wasn't just about music. It was a playground for temptation. And Nelly? He was allegedly playing hard. Whispers of late-night after-parties, no phones allowed green rooms, and a rotating cast of groupies started circulating online like wildfire. Dancers, backstage crew, even bartenders. Rumors said Nelly had a different favorite in every city. And while nothing was caught on camera directly, several TikTok accounts began anonymously posting stories that all shared one theme. Your fave rapper is out here, doing Ashanti dirty. One backstage worker in Atlanta spilled that Nelly was frequently seen flirting with a young thing from the merch table, and that security was even instructed to escort her in and out discreetly, away from the public eye, and more importantly, away from Ashanti. Meanwhile, tour buses were allegedly off-limits to non-essential personnel, but insiders claimed Nelly's bus had more foot traffic than a Friday night club. One source went viral after tweeting, "Ashanti should check his tour rider. It's got more condoms than microphones." And Ashanti? Her face told a different story than her Instagram captions. What fans once thought was new mom fatigue now looked more like emotional exhaustion. In candid backstage footage captured for a behind-the-scenes docuseries, Ashanti looked tense, guarded, and, at times, plain hurt. One scene showed her confronting Nelly about disappearing after a show, only for him to dismiss her with a shrug and a half-hearted, "I was just chilling with the fellas." But Ashanti wasn't buying it. Her eyes welled up. Her voice cracked. She asked him directly if he was cheating. He didn't deny it. He just changed the subject. That scene hit fans like a gut punch. People who had once celebrated their surprise 2023 reunion and cooed over their 2024 baby were now heartbroken for Ashanti. Even her body language screamed that the trust was gone. And yet, she stayed, at least for the moment. Maybe for love. Maybe for the baby. Or maybe because walking away after giving someone a second chance is harder than people think. But the internet had already made up its mind. Nelly's out here fumbling Ashanti like it's 2005, one viral tweet said. Another user posted, "A man with that kind of loyalty to his gym, but not his woman? Yikes." And just as the new cheating allegations exploded online, guess who posted a cryptic Instagram story with a wine glass, a smirk, and the words, "Peace is priceless"? Kelly. Rowland. Kelly Rowland didn't need to say a word. She didn't tag anyone. She didn't post an essay. She didn't even drop a shady lyric. But baby, the message was received. Loud, clear, and absolutely savage. As Nelly and Ashanti's public unraveling played out in real time, the internet started revisiting Kelly's now infamous "loyal men still exist" post, the one she dropped just as cheating rumors first leaked. And suddenly, what felt like subtle shade started looking a lot like strategic revenge. The question became, was Kelly watching the whole house burn and sipping wine on the porch with her heels up? Some fans argued she earned that right. After all, Kelly had history with Nelly, chemistry that dated all the way back to the Dilemma era. There were whispers for years that the two had been entangled, that Ashanti may have always seen Kelly as a threat. And now, with Ashanti reaping the emotional chaos Kelly allegedly dodged years ago, fans couldn't help but speculate. Is Kelly being petty or just vindicated? Because while Ashanti was airing out her trauma on camera, Kelly was posting workout videos, glam squad photos, and serene vacation flicks with her husband. No drama, no public tears, no healing soft life captions. Just peace, privacy, and perfectly timed posts that felt like a wink to anyone who remembered the early 2000s. One fan tweeted, "Kelly didn't throw shade. She built a whole gazebo with a view." Another said, "Kelly's been quiet for decades. She earned this petty moment. I would have been worse." Still, not everyone was cheering. Some viewers called it distasteful, arguing that kicking a woman while she's down, especially a new mom, is a bad look. But others flipped that argument right back, saying Kelly wasn't kicking anyone. She was simply minding her business while karma did the heavy lifting. And that's where the real debate lies. Was Kelly Rowland's energy vindictive or victorious? Was she flexing on an old flame or was simply celebrating her husband? Is she low-key the queen of elegant clapbacks? Or did she just win a long game by doing what she's always done? Staying graceful, quiet, and unbothered? One thing's for sure. Whatever Kelly Rowland is sipping on these days, it ain't bitterness. And if it is revenge, it's served ice cold and in a crystal flute. It's hard not to call it a full circle moment, but not the kind Ashanti dreamed of. Once upon a time, Ashanti was the one with the fairy tale ending. She was the comeback queen. After years apart, Nelly slid back into her life, and fans went wild. There were baby bump photos, tour dates together, red carpet smiles. It looked like a 2000s romance reboot with a modern twist. Ashanti was glowing, radiant, and very much winning, or so it seemed. But then came the cracks. The dismissiveness, the alleged cheating, the postpartum neglect. Suddenly, that glossy dream turned into a very public unraveling. And as Ashanti tried to hold it all together on camera, exhausted, overwhelmed, and visibly frustrated, fans started drawing comparisons. Sharp ones, because while Ashanti was doing damage control, Kelly Rowland was booked, busy, and barefoot on a beach somewhere, posting soft-filtered photos in silk robes, basking in what looked like a life free from emotional chaos. And it was in this moment that Kelly's decades-old history with Nelly resurfaced in a way that made the internet pause. That throwback clip of Dilemma, the way Nelly used to look at Kelly like she was made of stardust, her recent post about loyal men still existing, it wasn't just shade anymore, it was symbolism. Symbolism of what could have been for Ashanti if her man had evolved, if her trust hadn't been betrayed, if her win hadn't come with such a heavy cost. The poetic irony? The same woman Ashanti may have once considered a quiet rival, Kelly, was now living the peace she thought she'd found with Nelly. Ashanti may have gotten the guy, but Kelly got something better, the life Ashanti thought she was building. And in this full circle moment, fans couldn't ignore the tragedy hiding behind the symmetry. Ashanti's happily ever after had crumbled into chaos, while Kelly's past with Nelly had aged into pure poise. Was this karma? Was this timing? Or was it just the painful truth that not all that glitters is gold? And sometimes, dodging the bullet is the love story. So now the question looms like a storm cloud over the wreckage. Who really won? Was Kelly being messy? Was she quietly delighting in Ashanti's downfall with that polished shade and cryptic captions? Or was she simply standing in her truth, unapologetically, gracefully, and finally saying with her vibe what she never had to say with words? Because the visual symmetry is too loud to ignore. Ashanti, postpartum, heartbroken, emotionally abandoned, trying to protect her public image while privately picking up the pieces. And Kelly, glowing, elevated, untouched by the scandal, yet undeniably entangled in the subtext of it all. One woman looked like she was surviving a storm. The other, like she'd already made it through and built a house on higher ground. This wasn't just gossip. It was a poetic reflection of choices, timing, and growth. Kelly Rowland didn't have to write a tell-all. She didn't have to air out receipts. She just had to exist in her peace, her power, and her silence. And that silence? That was the mic drop. In the end, maybe Ashanti won Nelly. Maybe she fought for him, loved him, forgave him, built a home with him. But Kelly? Kelly won peace. She won clarity. She won a life unbothered, unfazed, and unattached to the mess she might have once been swept into. And in the petty war of public perception and private pain, that's the kind of win that doesn't need applause. It just needs a glass of wine, a little shade, and a front row seat to the show. Because Ashanti might have gotten the man. But Kelly? Kelly got the last word, and she never even opened her mouth.